We'd like to acknowledge the guest of the Honorable Jervil Jinky Beatrix R. Luistro from the 2nd District of Batangas. They are visitors from the municipality of San Luis, Batangas, Batangas. They are Honorable June D. Villanueva, Honorable Francis Lloyd T. Acusar, Honorable Nolasco Onda, Honorable Ronaldo Magubat, Honorable Emilita Corrales, Honorable Lorsi Balasbas, Honorable Sunny Karingal, Honorable Perseverando Castillo, Honorable Emiterio Dima Felix, Honorable Robelito Vergara, Honorable Edita Vergara, Honorable German Cortez, Honorable Faustino Bonifacio, Honorable Michelle Carandang, Honorable Victor De Castro, Honorable Roberito Cuerdo, Honorable Arnold Castillo, Barangay Councilor, Honorable Marisol Abitong, John Carlos M. Santos, Dolary Angeles, Chris Polo Amurao, Maria Cristina Salazar, Rantes C. Mendoza, Victor Encarnacion, Ruben Reyes, and from the district staff of Congressman Luistro, Rona Corazon B. Aceremo, Mauricia Pagkaliwanagan, and Bembol Carbonel. Mr. Speaker.
To the guests of the Honorable Jervil Jinky Beatrix Luistro, welcome to the House of Representatives. Thank you for your visit. Daghang salamat. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, today being a Monday and pursuant to our rules, I move that we open the privilege hour.
Is there any objection? The Chair hears none. The Chair declares the privilege hour. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the Honorable Representative Maria Victoria Copilar of the 6th District of Quezon City to avail of the privilege hour.
The Honorable Representative Maria Victoria Copilar is recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Magandang hapon, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. I rise today on a matter of personal and collective privilege to share and talk about an issue that continues to haunt the country. The online sexual abuse and exploitation of children and child sexual abuse and exploitation materials, or OSAIC and CSIM. As we celebrate the National Children's Month, it is an honor to address this august chamber and deliver a speech on this issue. Ending OSAIC and CSIM is a personal advocacy of mine, but I was not able to give my inputs during the bill's deliberation because I wasn't a member of the House last Congress. Nonetheless, I commend the 18th Congress for putting this issue as a priority measure. Before I go any further, please allow me to acknowledge the presence of children and young people from the Child Rights Network, the largest alliance of government, non-government, international, and people's organizations doing legislative advocacy work for children's rights. It is convened by the Philippine Legislators Committee on Population and Development, or PLCPD, which I became a member of recently. Specifically, children from the following organizations who joined us here in the House of Representatives to celebrate with us in our remembering our commitment to the fulfillment of their rights. Philippine Legislators Committee on Population and Development, Child's Right Network, Unang Hakbang, Salin Lahi, Commission on Human Rights, Philippine Educational Theater Association, Bahay Tuluyan, Kamilyon, Vides, World Vision, ASME, Global Health Advocacy Incubator, Ateneo Human Rights Center, the Asian Foundation, Plan International, Save the Children, Imagine Law, UNICEF, and British Embassy. Council for the Welfare of Children. The National Baseline Survey on Violence Against Children of 2016 revealed that about 43.8% of children and young people aged 13 to 18 experience cyber violence. About one-fourth of recorded cyber violence involves sexual and explicit exchange, and an estimated 2.5% had their own nude body or own sexual activities shown on the internet or cell phone, including both real and falsified images. The Philippines has been a global hotspot for OSAIC and CSIM. In 2018 alone, at least 600,000 CIM were uploaded, shared, and possibly sold online. This was 1,300% higher compared to the previous year. This situation was worsened by enhanced community quarantine as a result of government's response to COVID-19. In 2021, there were 3,188,793 cyber tip reports captured by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which is 138% higher than the 1,339,597 reports in 2020. In the issue primer released by Child's Right Network in 2021, ilan sa mga kadahilanan bakit vulnerable ang Pilipinas sa OSEAC ay ang matinding kahirapan, abot kayang internet at smartphones, husay sa pagsasalita ng Ingles, ang pag-iral ng kaugalian ng pananahimik at pagsikreto ng patuloy na pang-aabuso. The OSEAC at SIEM bilang pinagkukunan ng kita ng pamilya at laganap at accessible na mga money remittance centers. Mr. Speaker, colleagues, allow me to share with you 3 cases that happened before the Philippines made a global trailblazing move through the passage of comprehensive legislation on OSEAC and CSIM. To protect the identity of our victim survivor, I will withhold their real names, but their ages, gender, geographical location are all true and correct. Case number 1. Noong 2016, si Ira ay isang 13 taong gulang na batang babae ay pinakilala ng kanyang ate kay Rodney, isang 80-year-old na Amerikano sa Facebook. Nagsimula ang kanilang usap sa inosenteng pagtatanong ng ilang mga impormasyon tungkol sa batang babae. Tapos, humiling si Rodney kay Ira na sila ay mag-video call na nakasuot ng Sunday dress hanggang sa ang mga request ni Rodney ay naging sexual in nature. Nag-request si Rodney kay Ira na hawakan ito ang kanyang private areas at makipagtalik ito sa isa pang batang babae habang sila ay nag-video call. Without proper guidance from a protective adult, the 13-year-old felt pressure to do everything that she was asked to do. She also felt compelled to continue her engagement with Rodney. At the time, she wanted to support her sister's education. It came to a point when Ira could no longer tolerate the situation. She began exhibiting suicidal tendencies, citing how she felt dirty. Her older sister, who facilitated this connection, was also a victim, having been forced to engage with Rodney when she was 17 years old. Their cousin Myrnie, a 13 years old, was also introduced to Rodney. She lured Myrnie by giving her a cell phone. He then requested the girl to send explicit photos in exchange for money. Their families made no attempt to report this, even encouraged their children to continue their dealings with the perpetrator because they were earning from it. A concerned child rights NGO took on the case and assisted the victim survivors in reporting the situation to the cybercrime unit, but they were asked to gather more evidence to support their case. The said NGO is well known throughout Mindanao region because they mobilize communities in capacity-building activities that will improve the harmonious relationship within the families and the neighborhood. As such, they could not go around the community to gather crucial pieces of evidence. Case number 2. Nung kasagsagan ng pandemic, isang barangay sa isang probinsya sa Mindanao ang napag-alamang may 53 mga batang babae ang sangkot sa online o offline prostitution kung saan ang mga pinakabata sa kanila ay 10 taong gulang lamang. Hinihinalang alam ng buong barangay ang nangyayari ang ganitong kalakaran sa kanilang komunidad. Pero pinili nilang magkibit balikat dahil ang mga pamilya ng mga biktima ay nakatanggap ng salapi kapalit ang ilegal na kalakalan na ito. Case number 3. Nung nakaraang taon lamang, isang Pilipino na tatawagin natin sa pangalang J. Red, ang nagpadala ng mensahe sa isang 13 taong gulang na babae na nangangalang Ayesha. Sa pamamagitan ng kanyang kaibigan, na 15 taong gulang naman na si Joy para humingi ng mga litrato at video ng mga pribadong parte ng katawan ni Ayesha. Nangako si J-Red kay Ayesha ng 15,000 pesos para sa nasabing material. Sumang-ayon si Ayesha na gawin ang pinapagawa ni J-Red sa kanya para sa pera pero hindi siya nakatanggap ni piso mula kay J-Red. Sinabi niya na binigay na niya raw ang pera sa kanyang kapatid na si Joy, pero ito ay pawang panloloko lamang. Ang mga self-generated na mga sexual na mga larawan at videos ni Ayesha ay pinakalat ni J-Red sa mga messenger group chats at naglalaman dito ang material na iba pang mga biktima. Ang kasong ito ay binigay na sa Interagency Council Against Trafficking. Pero hanggang ngayon, hindi pa rin natatagpuan o nahuhuli ang salarin. As I mentioned earlier, ang mga pangalan ng mga batang babae at mga perpetrators had been concealed to uphold the strictest confidentiality for their safety and security. If my colleagues are interested in knowing more the case, you may ask my office or the Child's Right Network for copies of the summary report. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, maaaring hindi pa tayo ganap na handa at sapat na ang ating kakayahan upang proteksyonan ang ating mga anak at masiguro ang kanilang safety online dahil napakalawak ng internet. And it is replete with risk and hazard, as it is with opportunities for progress. But we are doing our best to cope with the challenge. The story I share are just 3 of the thousands of the stories that need immediate action. That's why in 2022, the Philippines made history as one of the first countries to enact a law that specifically responds to the issue of ASEAN. In this very chamber, we discuss how we can equip children with the right ammunition in the face of the fast-evolving digital advancement. And we made our commitment that we will be relenting and unforgiving to those who will perpetuate these vicious criminal acts. Republic Act 11930, or Anti-Online Sexual and Abuse Exploitation of Children and Child Sexual Abuse and Exploitation Material, was legalized. What was our legacy testament to our dedication to journey the challenging world within. The gravity of this issue is not just a matter of figures and statistics. It matters to every child whose life is forever changed because of ASEAN. Their lived realities, horrifying and hard to grasp, are a burden we must all share. As appointed leaders of our country, their stories are all our responsibility. Like many issues we face, I believe this journey doesn't end with the enactment of law. In fact, we have only just begun. Currently, the lead agency in charge of this implementation, the Department of Justice, National Coordinating Center, established under the mandate of this law, is developing 2 critical important documents, namely the multi-year strategic plan, which will inform how to strengthen the mechanism to counter OSEAC and CSIM, the guidelines on reasonable accommodation for children with disability, which seeks to ensure that children who need to access justice are given the platform to enable and empower them to do so. The DOJ, NCC, OSEAC, CSIM, after its sectoral meeting with the President, or with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. on the 4th of June this year, have received its 4 presidential directives which focus on 1. Publicizing registry of blacklisted alien and offenders, helpline in coordination with CWC. 3. DILG to issue a memorandum circular to include the adoption of anti-OSEAC ordinance in cities and municipalities across the country. 4. Strengthen the case build-up investigation of OSEAC and CSIM cases to ensure that cases in all parts of the country will reach their respective regional courts. The DOJ and the DILG have also submitted an executive order on the 6th pillar program to combat OSEAC, which includes communication, referral pathways, mechanism, capacity building, data harmonization, private sector engagement, aftercare services to child victim survivors. In relation to this, the President also issued Executive Order 67 to establish Presidential Office for Child Protection, which is directly under the Office of the President, highlighting that there is a need for a whole-of-nation approach to eradicate OSEAC and CSIM. Following the core initiative required from this directive, I underscore a critical role, my dear colleagues, to look back on our commitment and make sure that this 19th Congress and in the Congress to come, we will strive to keep strengthening our legacy for children. Some of the key action I propose includes, first, maximizing and fully implementing all the provisions of the law by invoking congressional oversight. This is the best way to ensure that this law will benefit each and every Filipino child. We hope that the congressional oversight will strengthen the reporting and referral mechanism, ensuring that the authorities in charge will bring a swift justice to those who need it. Second, I hope that as a legislator, we will continue to recognize the essential role and impact of appropriate budget in programs and services to effectively carry out the mandate of laws promoting children's rights. The social services, especially, which is a foundation of support needed within the communities, should be competent and inclusive to respond to the needs of the Filipino children. Third, I encourage my fellow legislators who have influence in their respective district and constituency to make sure that our political commitment are also reflected in local legislation and policy, as directed by President Bongbong Marcos. There is a great need for the adoption of anti-OSEAC law into ordinance. Our influence in our respective district would help our local legislator to realize that ordinance would help strengthen the full implementation of this law. And lastly, in line with the whole-of-nation approach, I underline the vital role of the school in raising awareness and prevention. The Department of Education, as one of the responsible agencies, should lead all public and private schools nationwide in organizing activities addressing the problem of OSEAC and CSIM. The Parent Teachers Association should also be enjoined in all efforts concerning the protection of children and youth from forms of abuse, cruelty, exploitation like OSEAC and CSIM. When we think of passing the law related to children, we go to such great length to carefully deliberate them to serve their best interests. What we need to be consistently mindful of from here on in the children's participation in the legislative process. Mr. Speaker, responsibilidad po natin lahat na matanggal tayo sa listahan ng hotspot ng OSEA at CSIM. We do not wish for the likes of Jared to remain at large and perpetuate victimizing our children, our youth who are the future of this nation. We do not wish for Ira, Ayesha, or Joy in who we are prey by immoral persons, robbing them the opportunity to enjoy their precious lives. Most importantly, we do not wish for the family, the very basic unit of institution of our society, to become the very agent to encourage, perpetuate, directly victimize our children. Kung tutuusin, Mr. Speaker, mas malala pa sa impact ng POGO ang OSEA at CSIM dahil ito ay isang silent pandemic na sumisira sa kinabukasan ng mga batang Pilipino. While this representation commends the responsible agency for the successful enactment of the implementing rules and regulation of RA 11930, Mr. Speaker, we do not wish to stop here, nor to be complacent. Our duty as legislator is not merely to enact laws, but also includes that ensuring the intent of this law are realized and materialized in our society. Therefore, in the exercise of oversight function of the Congress, this representation call on the agencies responsible for this law implementation to update the House on the implementation of anti-OSEAC and CSIM law. To clarify, this briefing is not merely to know the numbers. We and the people need to know where we are now, 2 years after passing of RA 11930. Let us not allow this law to become a law without a teeth. This year, the CRN Team for National Children's Month champions for children the 19th Congress legacy of protecting and empowering children. Call on us to build a society where all children are safe. This National Children's Month, let us end OSEAC. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Daghang salamat. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Pilar Co. to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The privileged speech of the Honorable Victoria Copilar is hereby referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to recognize the guests of Representative of Akbayan Party List, Percival Candanya, from the care unions, officers, and members of the Pinoy Domestic Care Workers and United Local Domestic Workers and AFW Hospital Workers. They are as follows: Adriana Chiu, Grace Estrada, Melody Recto, Risa Estrella, Rene Capito, Jane Labongray, Roel Pahati, Kathy Melendres, Himaya Montenegro, and Ferdinand Idalo.
To the guests of the Honorable Percival Sendanya of the Akbayan Party List, welcome to the House of Representatives. Thank you for your visit. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we would like to acknowledge the guests of Representative Angelica Natasha Co. of the BHW Party List. They are from the Child Rights Network. They are representatives from the organizations of Unang Hakbang, Salinlahi, the Commission on Human Rights, PETA, Bahay Tuluyan, Philippine Legislators Committee on Population and Development, Child Rights Network, Chameleon, VIDES, World Vision, ASMAE, Ateneo Human Rights Center, Global Health Advocacy Incubator, the Asia Foundation, Plan International, Save the Children, Imagine Law, UNICEF, the British Embassy, and the Council for the Welfare of Children. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
To the guests of the Honorable Angelica Natasha Co. of the BHW Party List, welcome to the House of Representatives. Thank you for your visit. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that the gentle lady from the BHW Party List, the Honorable Angelica Natasha Co., be recognized to avail of the privilege hour. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Angelica Natasha Co. is recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleagues, esteemed members of this august chamber, honored guests, advocates, and most importantly, the young people who inspire us every day, isang maligayang buwan ng mga bata. At this time of the year, we celebrate not only the strides we have made, but likewise renew our commitment to the future of our children, the heart of our society. On this occasion, we pause, we reflect, and we plan ahead and move forward. We pause and reflect on what went well and what could have been better for the children. And then we set our sights on advancing their best interests. Our theme, Champions for Children, the 19th Congress Legacy of Protecting and Empowering Children, reminds us of the profound responsibility we carry as legislators, or state actors, or as parents patriae of the Filipino children. As the great Nelson Mandela once said, there can be no keener revelation of a society's soul than the way in which it treats its children. Our children are the heartbeat of our nation. They are the promise of tomorrow, the light of our future. And it is our collective duty to ensure they grow in environments that nurture, protect, and empower their rights. As lawmakers and citizens, we must ask ourselves, are we doing all we can to protect the rights, dreams, and voices of our children? This is a question we have been addressing with dedication in the 19th Congress, turning words into action and legislation into protection. One of the most significant steps we have taken is in enacting policies that secure the welfare of Filipino children. We have put forward bills aimed at preventing violence and abuse against children, providing opportunities for their growth and development, promoting their best interests, protecting children by strengthening the country's child welfare system, and bolstering inclusivity by empowering children to participate in all matters that affect them, especially in the decision-making and legislation process. And as Maya Angelou wisely said, each time a child stands up for themselves without knowing it, possibly without claiming it, they stand up for all children. By empowering children and by educating them about their rights, we are equipping them to stand up for themselves and for each other. While we are still awaiting final approval, we have successfully advanced important legislation such as measures seeking to strengthen the early childhood care and development system, amending Republic Act No. 10410, or the Early Years Act of 2013. Second, measures seeking to institute the Magna Carta of Child Development Workers and Teachers. Both measures were subsumed under House Bill No. 10142, which was approved on third reading and transmitted to the Senate on March 19, 2024. Third, measures institutionalizing the Parent, Teacher, and Community Association, which was transmitted to the Senate on February 8, 2024. Fourth, measures seeking to introduce positive parenting, which is a nonviolent approach to parenting. Fifth, measures reorganizing the Council for the Welfare of Children to the Philippine Commission on Children, which was already approved by the Committee on Ways and Means and awaiting approval of the Committee on Appropriations. Sixth, measures establishing the Magna Carta of Children, which is a framework for upholding the best interests of the child on protection, survival, development, and participation. Consistent with the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Seventh, measures aiming to strengthen the internet and digital content safety, enhancing holistic online protection for children. Eighth, measures creating the National Child Support Program that aims to assist in locating non-custodial or absentee parents, determining the amount of child support, and issues, review, modify, enforce, and monitor child support orders pursuant to an administrative proceeding for child support, among others. Ninth, measures seeking to amend Republic Act No. 7610, or the Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination Act, by increasing the penalties and fines imposed for violators. 10th, measures seeking to establish infant-friendly facilities such as diaper changing stations and child-friendly seats. And 11th, measures seeking to strengthen the system of birth registration of children in need of special protection in the Philippines, or the Comprehensive and Responsive Civil Statistics System, or CRVS, for children, among other equally important measures for children this 19th Congress. Investing in Filipino children through strong and quality legislation is crucial to building a resilient, progressive, and equitable society. With children comprising 36% of the population, their well-being determines the future of the nation. Ensuring that they have access to quality education, proper health care, and safe environments is essential to breaking cycles of poverty, reducing inequality, and fostering sustainable development. Investing in children is not only an investment in individual lives, but a foundational step towards an inclusive and prosperous nation, driven by capable, empowered, and compassionate future leaders. By investing in children, we are investing in a brighter, more resilient generation that will lead us forward. However, let us be mindful that protecting and empowering children goes beyond policy. It is about creating a legacy that transcends Congress. It is about building communities that cherish and nurture every child. As the saying goes, the soul is healed by being with children. We are healed and strengthened when we prioritize our children. And through them, we ensure a legacy of compassion, resilience, and hope. This vision is not politics. It is a legacy rooted in the belief that our children deserve every opportunity to thrive. As we look towards the future, let us continue this journey with the same passion, the same urgency, and the same dedication. Let us strive to leave a legacy that speaks to our values and our commitment to every child's right to safety, growth, and opportunity. Let us be mindful that our role is not just to pass laws, but to build lasting systems and communities that uplift the children, that defend their rights, and that amplify their voices. Together, we are writing the story of a better tomorrow, one where children inherit not only a better world, but one that believes in them, protects them, and inspires them to become champions themselves. Thank you for all your dedication, support, and partnership in this essential journey. Let us continue to make this 19th Congress legacy one that resonates for generations to come, a legacy that shows we were indeed champions for children. Once again, thank you, and let us keep championing our children and mainstreaming their human rights. Let our enduring legacy be our promise to the Filipino children.
Thank you very much. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Ko to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The privileged speech of the Honorable Natasha Ko is hereby referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that the gentle lady from the 1st District of Laguna, the Honorable Maria Rene Ann Lourdes G. Matibag, be recognized to avail of the privilege hour. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Representative Maria Rene Ann Lourdes Matibag is recognized. Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, esteemed colleagues, I stand in front of you today to speak about the unthinkable yet a prevailing reality of children. Over and over again, children have been an easy prey for abuse and violence, which includes human trafficking. As the Lagunanay of San Pedro, Laguna, and mother to my 3 children, all below 18 years of age, the fear is unfathomable. Child trafficking remains a pervasive in our society, with children being exploited for various purposes: forced labor, slavery, organ removal, and sexual exploitation. This includes what has become more rampant during the COVID-19 pandemic. The use and ease of access to technology made it simpler for abusers to exploit children in the cyber world, with some families resorting to selling explicit images and videos of their own children to survive. Children who are dependent and trusting of their caregivers, their parents, uncle and aunties, grandparents, and those who are in their community rely on our guidance and instruction. But this trust has been betrayed and tarnished with ill intentions. This goes back to the systematic problem of poverty, unemployment, and lack of basic needs of a family, going to extraordinary, inhumane, and sickening alternative in order to make the ends meet. Nakakalungkot po, ngunit narito ang nakakakilabot na realidad na ang child trafficking ay nagmumula sa pagtitiwala ng mga bata sa mga tao na malapit sa kanila. Bilang isang nanay, hindi ko lubos maisip kung paano nagagawa ang mga bagay na ito sa mga inosenteng bata. Bilang magulang, lalo't higit bilang mga mambabatas ng bansang Pilipinas, tungkulin natin na ibigay ang proteksyon sa kanila gamit ang kapasidad sa Kamara. The Philippine National Police Women and Children Protection Center received a staggering 18,756 reports of child rights violations in 2023. These statistics are a stark reminder of the urgency of our mission. We cannot stand idly while our children suffer. From recruitment, coercion, threat, deception, and abuse of power, our children becomes more vulnerable not only to these exploitations, but to even come forward to report, to seek help, and to experience a safe space free from abuse. We must hold these people accountable. We must strengthen our laws in order to safeguard our children. We must reinforce our security, both local and international, to combat these heinous crimes. But to truly end abuse and violence against children, we must address the root cause of this problem. We must continue our efforts to provide opportunities for the Filipinos in order to equip them with access to their basic needs, food, water, shelter, and employment. We must strengthen our child protection services by expanding access to counseling, therapy, and any other support services for victims and survivors. This includes providing mental health support, medical care, and legal assistance to help them recover from the trauma of abuse with the establishment of child protection centers nationwide. The law enforcement must be equipped with necessary resources to thoroughly investigate and prosecute child abuse cases to ensure that perpetrators are brought to justice and deterred from the committing further crimes. Promoting awareness and access to education remains the ultimate key to end child abuse and trafficking. We must educate our youth independent from their families and caregivers of what is right and safe for them. The birth of centers, the help of school institutions, and existence of public awareness campaigns are monumental in order to properly equip our children with necessary information that will ultimately empower them to speak up, to say no, and defend themselves from improper advances from adults, including their family members. Makakamit ang ligtas na Pilipinas para sa mga kabataan sa pamamagitan ng pagtutulungan ng bawat ahensya ng gobyerno, mga socio-civic organizations at NGOs at eskwelahan kung saan maaari matuto ang ating mga kabataan ng nararapat na pagtrato sa kanila. Kaugnay ng National Children's Month, theme na Break the Prevalence and Violence Protecting Children, Create a Safe Philippines. Pulutin natin ang kabuktutan na ito. Putulin natin ang paulit-ulit na pang-aabuso sa ating mga kabataan. Putulin natin ang mga pananahimik at sama-samang ipagsigawan ang karapatan ng bawat kabataan. Bilang lagunanay ng San Pedro, aking muling ipinapahayag ang aking matibay, matatag at pinalakas na paninindigan para sa isang ligtas na pamayanan para sa bawat batang San Pedro at bawat Pilipino. Hindi ako titigil hanggat ating makamit ang wakas ng pang-aabuso. As a nanay and representative and the Zonta Club of Laguna president, I reaffirm my advocacy in fighting for children's rights and welfare. Most especially my support and participation in the upcoming 16th Day of Activism that is the core and essence of my beloved organization. As Zontian, we continue to fight violence against women and children in all forms. Now more than ever, we continue to protect our children from abuse. One of our efforts as an organization is the awareness campaign, Protektahan ang Kamusmusan, a comic series on protecting kids from sexual predators to be facilitated by Ms. Chari Mercado. The opportunities are limitless. We can be catalysts of change. We all have a part to play in the protection of our children against violence, abuse, and trafficking. Together, let us end violence against children. Let us renew our commitment to creating a Philippines where every child is loved, empowered, and safe from all types of exploitation, violence, and abuse. Let us eliminate the silence, confront the darkness, and work towards a tomorrow filled with joy, peace, and the promise of a brighter future. My beloved speaker and my dearest colleagues, let us continue to build a better Philippines, a better world for children, women, and every citizen of our great country. Happy Children's Month, mga anak ko.
Thank you very much. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Matibag to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action. I so move, Mr.
Is
Speaker.
there any objection? The chair hears none. The privileged speech of the Honorable Matibag is hereby referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that the gentle lady from the Gabriela party list, the Honorable Arlene D. Brosas, be recognized to avail of the privileged hour. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Arlene Brosas is recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker. Dear colleagues, child rights advocates, at lalo na sa mga bata na narito ngayon sa ating plenaryo. Sana nandito pa sila, kanina nandito sila no? Maligayang pagbati ngayong National Children's Month. Break the prevalence, end the violence, protecting children, creating a safe Philippines. Ito ang tema ng National Children's Month ngayong taon. Sa gitna ng mga umiiral na batas para sa kapakanan ng mga bata, karamihan ng mga batang Pilipino ay patuloy na nakararanas ng matinding kahirapan, gutom, pang-aapi, karahasan at pagsasamantala. Ayon sa datos ng gobyerno ngayong 2024, 1.9 milyong Pilipino ang walang trabaho at 5.9 milyong Pilipino ang underemployed. Pinagmamalaki rin ng gobyerno na tumaas ang bilang ng Pilipino na may trabaho mula 47.7 milyon tungong 49.9 milyon. Subalit, batay sa tala ng Ibon Foundation, 20.7 milyon sa kabuuan, ang Pilipino may trabaho ay nasa informal na paggawa, informal work. Ibig sabihin, wala silang kasigurahan sa trabaho, nakabubuhay na sahod, hindi sigurado kung may kikitain sa isang araw, walang benepisyo, at maaaring nasa hindi ligtas na trabaho. Nananatiling hindi nakabubuhay ang sahod ng mga manggagawa dito sa ating bansa, 645 pesos lamang ang minimum na sahod sa National Capital Region, samantalang 361 pesos lamang sa Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao o BARM. Malayong-malayo ito sa mahigit 1,200 pesos na family living wage. Sa kanayunan, nananatiling kabilang sa pinakamahihirap na sektor ang ating mga magsasaka, manggagawang bukid at mga mangingisda. Mababa ang kanilang kita at hindi sapat ang suporta na ibinibigay ng gobyerno. Mr. Speaker, sa ganitong kasalukuyang kalagayan, ano ang sitwasyon ng mga bata sa ating bansa? Milyon-milyong batang Pilipino ang nabubuhay ngayon sa labis na kahirapan. In 2022, research produced by UNICEF showed that 5.14 million Filipino children lived in extreme poverty. It also revealed that 17.8 million Filipino children lived on less than 206 pesos per day, while 32 million Filipino children lived on less than 387 pesos per day. Maraming bata ang hindi nakakakain ng 3 beses sa isang araw, ayon sa pag-aaral ng Philippine Institute for Development Studies or PIDS at ng Second Congressional Commission on Education or EDCOM-2. Isa sa bawat 3 batang Pilipino ang nakakaranas ng stunted growth at malnutrisyon dahil sa kakulangan ng mataas na kalidad sa early child care at prenatal care. Hindi ko makakalimutan ang kwento ng batang si Bimbi na namatay dahil sa malnutrisyon. In fact, buong pamilya niya ay malnourished. Kahit anong pagsusumikap namin noon na tulungan ang kanilang buong pamilya na undernourished, hindi talaga umabot at kinaya ng kanyang katawan. Dahil sa tumitinding krisis at kahirapan, napipilitang magtrabaho sa murang edad pa lamang ang mga bata. Ayon sa Council for the Welfare of Children, umabot ng 1.48 million ang datos ng child labor sa Pilipinas noong 2022. Children engage in dangerous and hazardous jobs to earn meager amounts of money to help their families or to support their education. As isang halimbawa nito, Mr. Speaker, ay ang mga bata sa Nueva Ecija na may edad 13 hanggang 15 years old. Dahil sa kahirapan, napipilitang umabsent sa klase ng mga bata para sumama sa kanilang magulang upang magtanim at magbunot ng mga palay bilang pandagdag sa kanilang pangkain. Sa halip na nag-aaral at naglalaro, sila ay napipilitang magbanat ng buto sa murang edad. Patuloy ring umiiral ang karahasan at pang-aabuso sa mga bata. Ayon pa sa Council for the Welfare of Children, 17,304 ang naitalang reports ng violence against children noong 2023. Kasama rito ang child abuse, rape, at acts of lasciviousness. 9,656 kaso ng violence against children ang naitala ng Child Protection Network mula January 1, 2024 hanggang November 10, 2024. The Philippines has become a global hotspot for online sexual abuse and exploitation of children o SAEC. Katulad po ng nireport ng ating colleague kanina. In 2022, nearly 1% or 1 in 100 children in the Philippines were trafficked to create child sexual exploitation material, according to data from the International Justice Mission, or IGM, and the University of Nottingham's Rights Lab. Additionally, the International Telecommunication Union estimates that 750,000 individuals online are actively seeking to engage with children for sexual purposes. Nitong nakaraan lamang, nabalita na isang French animator ang hinatulan ng pagkakakulong dahil sa pag-order ng live-streamed rape ng mga bata sa Pilipinas na may edad 5 hanggang 10 taong gulang. Nakakapangilabot at nakakagalit na mga datos at kalagayan ng mga tinuturing na kinabukasan ng ating bayan. Mr. Speaker, dahil sa kahirapan, napipilitang pumasok sa mga ganitong aktibidad ang karamihan sa mga Pilipino. Poverty is a systemic problem that has left millions of families in desperate situations. When families struggle to meet their basic needs, they become more susceptible to abuse and exploitation. In some tragic instances, economic desperation drives parents or guardians to become complicit in the abuse, seeing it as a means of survival. Addressing online sexual abuse and exploitation of children requires more than just punitive measures. It calls for a comprehensive approach that addresses the root causes of the problem. The government must prioritize children's welfare and pursue those who are responsible. Isa pa sa mga kinakaharap ng mga bata ngayon, lalo na sa mga nasa rural, ay ang tumitinding militarisasyon. Higit na apektado ang mga bata sa dumaraming presensya ng mga militar sa kanayunan. May mga kaso ng pagkampo ng mga militar sa loob mismo ng mga eskwelahan. May mga paaralan ding nawasak dahil sa aerial bombings na ginagawa ng mga militar. Ang ilang mga mag-aaral ay napilitang lumikas sa kanilang mga tahanan na nagresulta sa pagkaantala ng kanilang pag-aaral. Nakapagtala rin ang Children's Rehabilitation Center ng mga kaso ng sexual na pang-aabuso sa mga bata gawa ng mga militar. Ang mga allegations po ay 10 taong gulang na babae na hinalay ng isang miyembro ng Citizen Armed Force Geographical Unit or CAFGU sa Davao, April 2023. Panggagahasa ng mga sundalo ng 94th IB sa 15 taong gulang na batang babae at isa pang kasama niya, August 2023. Gayon din, ayon sa kanila, may mga ulat ng pag-aresto at pagkulong sa mga bata dahil sa mga gawa-gawang kaso at pag-akusa na sila ay mga rebelde. Ang mga ataking ito ay nagdulot sa mga bata ng matagalan at matinding pisikal at emosyonal na trauma. Hindi lamang ito mga simpleng estatistika ng kahirapan, karahasan at pang-aabuso sa mga bata. Bawat numero ay isang batang Pilipino na pinagkakaitan ng kanilang karapatan at kinabukasan. Dapat bigyang aksyon ito ng gobyerno at tiyakin na ang bawat batang Pilipino ay napangangalagaan, napapalaki ng maayos, may maganda at makulay na kinabukasan. Ang Gabriela Women's Party ay kaisa sa pagsusulong at paglaban para sa karapatan at kagalingan ng mga bata. Sama-sama tayong kumilos para sa kinabukasan ng susunod na salinlahi at para sa isang lipunang ligtas at walang pang-aabuso. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker.
Daghang salamat. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Brosas to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The privileged speech of the Honorable Brosas is hereby referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move to recognize Representative Raul Manuel from the Kabataan Party list for his privileged speech.
The Honorable Raul Manuel is recognized. Please proceed.
Salamat, Mr. Speaker. Pagbati sa ating mga kapwa mambabatas, pagbati rin po sa mga panauhin natin, lalo ng mga bata at kapwa kabataan. Mr. Speaker, pagbati ngayong National Children's Month. Pagbati rin po in line with the National Students' Day na ginanap kahapon, November 17. Mr. Speaker, habang lumalaki ang mga bata, dapat na natatamasa nila ang karapatan sa edukasyong mapagpalaya, edukasyong magtuturo sa kanila kung ano ang kanilang mga karapatan, para alam nila kapag sila o ang kanilang kapwa ay naging biktima ng abuso at alam nila paano ipagtanggol at ipaglaban ang kanilang mga sarili. However, Mr. Speaker, we can't empower children, youth, and students as long as their schools are in danger from forces that seek to clip the wings of themselves instead of guiding them how to fly and to soar high. Mr. Speaker, noong November 8, inanunsyo ng Notorious Task Force LCAC ang pagsali ng Coordinating Council of Private Educational Associations or COCOPEA bilang isang private sector representative sa loob ng task force. Lubhang nakababahala ang balitang ito, maging sa member schools mismo ng COCOPEA, kabilang ang higher and basic educational institutions kung saan enrolled ang mga kabataan at bata. Nakakuha ang balitang ito ng mariing kritisismo mula sa iba't ibang panig, kabilang ang mga organisasyon ng kabataan at estudyante sa private schools. Hindi na bagong karanasan para sa mga estudyante at kabataan ang tangkang panghihimasok ng Red Tagging and Disinformation Task Force na ito sa mga paaralan. Simula noong panahon ng Administrasyong Duterte, daan-daan ng mga forum di umano ang inilunsad nila sa mga universidad at high school kung saan pinaparatangang terorista ang mga estudyanteng naghahapag lamang ng kritisismo at pangmatagalang alternatibo sa mga pulisiya at programa ng pamahalaan. May mga forum po ang notorious Task Force LCAC kung saan kinukumpiska ang mga cellphone ng mga estudyanteng dumadalo na para bang may pinagtatakpan ang task force at ayaw maisapubliko ang mga kasinungalingang pinapakalat nila sa mga forum nila. May mga seminar din sila kung saan bawal ang open forum o question and answer mula sa mga estudyante. Gamit ang confidential and intelligence funds, lumalapit o pumapasok sa mga paaralan ang mga ahente ng Estado para maniktik, mangharas, at magbanta sa buhay ng mga inosenteng estudyante at kabataan, guro o kawani. Nangyayari ang mga ito bago pa man tahasang yakapin ng Kokopeya ang notorious Task Force LCAC. Kaya naman, sa isang press conference noong November 13, inilahad ng mga miyembro ng sektor na edukasyon ang kanilang pagtutol sa ginawa ng task force at ng Kokopeya. Pinuna nila ang tila ba'y pagsasawalang bahala ng pamunuan ng Kokopeya sa kapakanan at kaligtasan ng mga estudyante, guro at kawani. Para sa kanila, ang pagsanib ng Kokopeya sa task force ay pagtalikod sa mga prinsipyo ng pananalig, pagiging makatao, pagiging makabata, at pagiging makabayan, na siyang nasa mission and vision statements ng iba't ibang mga paaralan sa universidad na bahagi ng naturang Coordinating Council. Para sa University Student Government ng Philippine Christian University, Manila, the membership of Kokopeya in NTF-LCAC is both concerning and alarming as it imposes a serious threat to the academic freedom and safety of students. The university student government urged Philippine Christian University, a Kokopeya member, and I quote, to take a firm stand and take action regarding the concerns of its students, end of quote. Ganon din po ang pagtingin ng Supreme Student Council ng St. Louis University sa Baguio, na isa sa top 10 largest private university sa ating bansa. Naglabas din ng unity statement ang student governments and organizations sa mga pribadong paaralan hinggil sa issue na ito. Kabilang dyan ang mga sumusunod. Sa Ateneo de Manila, ang Sangguniang Commission on Gender Equality, the Heights Student Publication, Chemistry Society, One Big Fight for Human Rights and Democracy, at ang Malawakang Alyansa para sa Paglilingkod Estudyante ng Ateneo de Manila Senior High School. Sa Ateneo de Naga naman po, the Pillars Student Publication at ang Media Studies Society. Sa Ateneo de Zamboanga, International Students Organization at ang Students Initiative for a Nationalist Approach in Governance. Pati na rin ang De La Salle University Student Government, ang Central Student Organization ng Far Eastern University o FEU, pati na rin ang FEU IHSN Student Council, IAS Student Council, at Political Science Society. Sa Miriam College, ang kanilang sanggunian ng mga mag-aaral at ang Congress of Louisiana sa St. Louis University. Pati ang mga political parties, Mr. Speaker, sa University of Santo Tomas. Ang kabataan ito, Senior High School, Tindig UST Artlets, Tindig Senior High School, Lakas Loob, Lapis, at ang Students Democratic Party. Pati na rin ang chapters ng Panday Sining, League of Filipino Students, at Anak Bayan sa iba't ibang mga paaralan. Mr. Speaker, sawa na ang mga konseho at organisasyon na ito na busalan at sabihang sumunod na lang o mag-aral na lang kapag sinasabuhay nila ang pagiging mga pag-asa ng bayan. Kapag nag-aaral naman, tinuturo sa kanilang mga kabataan na masama ang maghangad ng pagbabago sa kasalukuyang sistemang mapanupil. At ang pagiging mabuting estudyante ay tila ba nakakulong sa pagiging robot na hindi marunong magtanong. Ang ganitong paggamit sa edukasyon bilang kasangkapan ng panunupil ay pagposas sa mga kabataang nais matuto, magsama-sama at magpahayag ng kanilang saloobin. Ang resulta nito ay takot at pangamba sa hanay ng mga estudyante at kabataan. Hindi ba't ito mismo ang tunay na terorismo? Terorismo galing sa mismong estado? Bilang partido na kumakatawan at tumitindig para sa kabataan sa loob at labas ng Kongreso, naiintindihan natin ang makasaysayang gampanin ng mga kabataang estudyante sa palipunang pagbabago at kung bakit iyon ay tinatangkang supilin ng mga institusyon kagaya ng notorious Task Force LCAC. Sa kasaysayan ng mga kabataang estudyante, tayo ang isa sa mga haligi ng kilusang protesta na mapangahas na tumutol sa mga anti-mamamayang polisiya ng iba't ibang rehimen. Sa ating bansa, nagsilbi ang mga estudyante bilang matibay na puwersa para sa pagpapabagsak ng diktador na si Marcos Sr. noong panahon ng martial law. Sa pagiging masigla, malikhain at bukas sa mga bagong ideya, ang kabataan ang nagsisilbing bukal ng mga tagapagtulak ng pagbabago mula sa kasalukuyang lipunan na puno ng pagdurusa at pananamantala. Kaya para maging mga pag-asa ng bayan, kailangan ng mga bata at kabataan ng mga paaralang tinatrato bilang sagradong lugar ng pagkatuto at pagtuklas sa mga katotohanan ng lipunan. Nililinang dapat ng mga institusyong pang-akademiko ang kritikal na pag-iisip upang punahin ang mga mali at tukuyin ang mga tama sa pamamahala ng ating bansa. Mr. Speaker, sa araw na ito, isang araw matapos ang paggunita sa ika-6 na National Students Day at ngayon ding ginugunita pa rin natin ang National Children's Month, nananawagan ang mga kabataang estudyante sa COCOPEA na mag-withdraw sa National Task Force LCAC. Hinahamon ng mga kabataang estudyante ang pamunuan ng COCOPEA na tumindig para sa prinsipyo ng member schools nito. Panghuli, Mr. Speaker, tinatawagan ng representasyon na ito ang ating mga kagalang-galang na mga mambabatas na dinggin ang panawagan ng ating mga kabataan. Magtulungan po tayo upang wakasan ang red tagging at disinformation. Huwag nating hayaang manuot ito hanggang sa ating mga paaralan at buwagin na po natin, once and for all, ang mapaminsalang notorious Task Force LCAC. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker. Mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you very much. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Raul Daniel Manuel to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection? The Chair hears none. The privileged speech of the Honorable Raul Manuel is hereby referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we extend the privilege hour for another hour.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The motion of the Majority Leader is hereby approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Franz Castro of ACT Teachers Party List to avail of the privilege hour.
The Honorable Franz Castro is recognized. Please proceed.
Daghang salamat, Mr. Speaker. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Mr. Speaker, mga kapwa ko mambabatas, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Tumitindig ang representasyong ito ngayon upang bigyang diin ang isang nakakabahalang kalagayan sa Hacienda Luisita, kung saan sa ika-20 taon ng madugong massacre, patuloy pa ring nananatiling banta ang pandarambong ng lupa at ang kawalan ng tunay na hustisya. Halos 900 ektarya ng lupain sa Hacienda Luisita ang kasalukuyang pinag-aagawan ng malalaking Panginoong may lupa at tuwirang nakikipagsabwatan sa kasalukuyang administrasyon. Ang Notice of Coverage sa 358 ektaryang lupain ng Tadeco sa Balete at Kutkut ay pinawalang bisa ng Malacanang na naglalagay sa panganib sa kabuhayan at ng libo-libong magsasaka. Sa kabila ng status quo order sa 200 ektaryang lupang ipinaglaban ng Ambala sa Lourdes at Kutkut, walang pakundangan ang pagtatayo ng Tari Estate ng Aboitiz sa pamamagitan ng Lima Corporation. Samantala, ang Ayala at ang kanilang mga bayarang kawal ay nagsagawa ng mga iligal na demolisyon at pagpapalayas sa daang-daang pamilya sa Barangay Central para sa kanilang 18 bilyong pisong Crescendo Project na sasaklaw sa 290 na ektarya. Ang malawakang land conversion na ito ay direktang paglapastangan sa karapatan ng mga mamamayan sa tirahan at kabuhayan. Ngunit hindi natitinag ang diwang paglaban ng mga magsasaka at manggagawa ng Luisita. Sa halip, mas lalo pang tumitibay ang kanilang determinasyon, ipaglaban ang kanilang karapatan sa lupa. 20 taon na ang nakalipas mula nang maganap ang madugong massacre sa Hacienda Luisita. 7 manggagawa at magsasaka ang napatay, daan-daang ang nasugatan, ngunit hanggang ngayon wala pa ring hustisya. Sa halip, mas sumitindi pang mga pang-aapi at pandarambong sa lupain. Kaya naman, Ginoong Speaker, hinihikayat ko ang ating pamahalaan na itigil ang pagsuporta sa mga illegal na land conversion at land grabbing schemes. Ipatupad ang tunay na reforma sa lupa, bigyang hustisya ang mga biktima ng Hacienda Luisita Massacre. Sa mga magsasaka at manggagawa ng Luisita, patuloy tayong magkaisa. Ang ating kolektibong pagkilos ang siyang magtitiyak ng ating tagumpay. Hindi tayo magpapatinag sa anumang banta at panggigipit. Ipagpatuloy natin ang paglaban para sa lupa at katarungan. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker. Magandang hapong muli sa ating lahat.
Daghang salamat. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Franz Castro to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The privileged speech of the Honorable Franz Castro is hereby referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend the privilege hour.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend session for a few minutes.
Session suspended. Session is resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we resume the privilege hour.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize our Senior Deputy Speaker, Representative Aurelio Dong Gonzales, Jr. of the 3rd District of Pampanga to avail of the privilege hour.
Senior Deputy Speaker Aurelio Dong Gonzales is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, can I move for a minute suspension for the video, Mr. Speaker?
Of course, of course.
Thank you.
Session suspended. Session is resumed. The Honorable Dong Gonzales is hereby recognized once again. Please proceed.
Thank you for the delay, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues. The Honorable Speaker, colleagues, guests, ladies and gentlemen, magandang at pagpalang hapon sa inyong lahat. Maya pa, panapon po kay Kayman, Kareng Kapampangan. I rise on the matter of personal and collective privilege with regard to the senseless and unresolved killings of local public officials in my district, in the 3rd District of Pampanga. On April 30, 2022, 2 weeks before the election in 2022, Barangay Captain Alvin Mendoza of Alasas, City of San Fernando, was ambushed after an unidentified gunman shot him dead 16 times as he was leaving his home. Nung paalis na po siya sa bahay niya, pagsakay sa sakyan niya, meron na pong sumunod sa kanya. Tingnan po natin itong video to, my dear colleagues.
Footage na ito ang magkaroon ng riding tandem sa isang itim na SUV sa barangay Matliman, San Fernando, Pampanga. Nang tumigil ang sasakyan, bumaba ang angkas at pinagbabarilan sa kanya ng SUV. Maya-maya pa, dumating sa pangmotorsiklo at pinagbabaril muli ang sakay ng SUV. Siniguro pa ng gunman na patay na ang sakay bago umalis. provincial konsehan sa San Fernando, Pampanga.
There are 16 basyo ng baril ang na-recover ng ating forensics group sa crime scene. And based naman sa caliber sa autopsies, 13 ang tumama.
Pagkatapos po ng 8 buwan, on December 28, 2022, isa naman po ang aking barangay captain sa Santo Rosario, City of San Fernando, na si Kapitan Jesus Liang or si Kong Jess Liang of Santo Rosario, City of San Fernando, was walking across yung pinagawa po nating bagong palengke ng alkalde nung panahon na yon, when a male gunman approached and shot him dead before fleeing on foot. Panoorin po natin ulit ito.
Po ng San Fernando, Pampanga. Tama po na. Kausapin natin. Wala po ba tayo nung gabi? Sabi nung gabi ba nasa kabayanan nila? Actually, parang natin ko ng ako, pupunta ako doon. Diretso din ako doon. Ayan. Pagkatutong sa bayan, yun na, tinatawag na ako ng mga tao. Dali mo, dali mo.
Rampant shootings targeting public officials did not stop there. On April 17, 2023, a former board member and Pampanga Liga ng mga Barangay President Jerome Tubig was shot multiple times in front of BL Macabali Memorial Hospital sa siyudad po ng aming bayan, sa siyudad ng San Fernando, Pampanga. Panoorin po natin ulit ito.
Isang araw ka, alas 7:30 ng umaga, itong Lunes, April 17, ang pagbabarili ng sasakyan ni Atty. Jerome Tubig, kakahabaan ng Mendoza Street ng San Fernando, Pampanga. Si Tubig ang kasalukuyang provincial legal officer ng lalawigan. Ayon sa inisyal na investigasyon ng PNP, dalawang lalaking nakaitim na jacket na sakay ng isang motorsiklo ang nagpaulan ng balas sa sinasakyan ni Tubig at dali-dali manong tumakas patungo sa direksyon ng Barangay Glory. Apat na basyo ng kalibre 45 baril ang nakatuan sa crime scene. Ayon kay Police Colonel Bebigong Basilio, ang direktor ng Pampanga Provincial Police Office, patuloy pang inaalam ang motibo ng tatlong pagpasla sa pisya ng Kapitolyo.
Pagkatapos ng isang taon, Mr. Speaker, a year later, on June 11, 2024, my barangay captain again in City of San Fernando, in the name of Barangay Captain Matt Ryan de la Cruz, and his driver na kaibigan ko na si Henry Aquino were gunned down at a gasoline station in Barangay Del Pilar, siyudad na naman ng San Fernando. Both victims suffered a multiple gunshot wounds and died on the spot, Mr. Speaker. Panoorin po natin ulit ito.
Motibo ng krimen habang wala pang person of interest na matukoy. Kaunay sa pagpaslang kina San Pedro Rodon Barangay Chairman na si Matrayan Gasin de la Cruz at Loretong driver na si Henry Aquino na kamakailan ay pinagpabaril sa loob ng kanilang sasakyan sa harap ng isang gasoline station sa Barangay Del Pilar, San Fernando City, Pampanga. Papanayam kay Kagawad Fem de la Cruz, inaalang biktima na si Kapitan Matt Ryan de la Cruz. Wala daw silang alam na kaaway ang kanyang anak, kaya nabigla sila sa pangyayari. Kwento ni Kagawad Fem de la Cruz, ipinasa na daw sa kanya ng kanyang anak ang negosyong peryahan simula nang maglingkod bilang chairman ng kanilang barangay.
Dati po nasa area po siya po yung nagpe-periante, siya po ang boss mo. Nung kapitan po siya, binigay niya po sa amin. Sabi po yun sa akin, yung mga kapatid niya, sabi po, Nay, sa inyo po nagkamahala yung business ko.
Dating na June 29, 2024 ay kapistahan ng Barangay San Pedro Rotuda na ang peryahan na natayo sa lugar ay pag-aari ni Kagawad Fem de la Cruz at ng kanilang pamilya. Bagamat hindi pa malinaw sa mga otoridad, tinitingnan ngayon ng pulisya ang dating negosyo peryahan ng biktima, pero hindi pa rin pinaalis ang politika sa mga posibleng motibo sa krimen. Hustisya ang patuloy ngayong isinisigaw ng mga ginulilang kaanak at kaibigan ng mga biktima.
Last week, nasa Arayat, Pampanga po ako. Pumunta po ako sa dalawang namatay na leader ko at umiiyak ang pamilya nitong isang barangay captain na si Che. On August 11, 2024, Barangay Captain Norberto Mel Lumbang of Lacius, Arayat, Pampanga was killed by a rifle-wielding man inside the barangay hall. Lumbang Mel who was planning to run for vice mayor next year, died on the spot. Ulit po, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, panoorin po natin itong CCTV ito. At ilang araw lang po ang nakakaraan. Just last week, on November 12, 2024, a municipal councilor in Arayat, Pampanga was killed while his companion was wounded in an attack by motorcycle riding assailants in Barangay Telapayong, Arayat. Ang pangalan po nito ay si SB member, Councilor Federico Hipolito, was declared dead on arrival in a hospital where his companion, Barangay Captain Julito Trinidad of Barangay Batasan, Arayat, Pampanga, was also taken for treatment on a gunshot wound. The victims had just alighted from a tricycle when the suspects arrived and shot them. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, panoorin po natin ulit itong video ito.
Patay sa pamamanilan sa Arayat, Pampanga. Ito na CCTV sa Barangay Telapayong, na nagmamahal ang riding in tandem. Kaliwa naman nakikita ang bumaba mula sa sasakyan ng dalawang lalaki na dadalo sa medical mission. Tugiman ang kalsada ang mga nakapagpagsiklo at saka pinagpapadil ang dalawang lalaki. Then the spot si Councilor Federico Hipolito. Ugod na naman si Barangay Batasan Chairman Lito Trinidad. Tumakas ang mga salarin, patuloy ang
As usual, the police have yet to determine the motive for the attack. My dear colleagues, Mr. Speaker, nakakalungkot isipin na hindi pa man nare-resolba ang mga patayan noong 2022-2023. Patuloy pa rin na nangyayari ang mga ganitong klaseng krimen sa ating lalawigan, lalo na sa aking distrito, the 3rd District of Pampanga. And I can't help but think, are these recent deaths related to illegal activities? Ito po ay related sa kanilang negosyo. We are on the process of the hearing of Quadcom. I am the one who stood up last August 5 this year when we consolidated. When I consolidated the 4 committees, which is the public order and safety, the illegal drugs, the extrajudicial killing, and the public accounts, kung saan po lahat ng negosyo ng iba-ibang nasyon pumunta sa lalawigan ng Pampanga, lalo na sa siyudad ng San Fernando, bayan ng Mexico. May kinalaman kaya ito sa parating na eleksyon? Yun po ang katanungan ng inyong kasama dito sa Kongreso na si Congressman Dong Gonzales. Which I was filed a resolution calling for an investigation in aid of legislation into the senseless and unresolved killings of local public officials in my district of the 3rd District of Pampanga. This impunity being committed to these local public officials must be stopped. The local police must enforce law to the fullest extent. They must keep the peace, arrest and prosecute the criminals, and bring them to the bar of justice. Ilan pa kaya ang mamamatay bago kumilos ang lokal na kapulisan? The victims, families deserve both justice and closure. The perpetrators must be exposed and should be punished within the full extent of the law. Their conviction shall provide the victims, family with closure, and shall allow them to begin to heal the mourn, the loss properly. My colleagues, I implore your support to my constituents, in the 3rd District of Pampanga, sa aking mga kalalalawigan, to my fellow Kapampangan, if you are all watching, if you are all listening, I will not stop. Eko putok ng anggat etala akwa, dening eganaganang pakikagawan, keng ustong pamaten dala, antimong babi, antimong manok, den kaya katamong opisyalis. Epo bage, hindi po yan nababagay sa ating syudad. San Fernando is the heart of Pampanga. San Fernando is the heart of Central Luzon. And Central Luzon is the center of our country. Hindi po namin alam kung paano namin pinatahimik ang aming lalawigan. Hindi po namin alam kung ano ang gagawin naming development. Ginawa po natin ito para sa ating mga kalalawigan. Ginawa ko po ito in 5 terms as congressman. I did this for the development of my province and my district. Alam niyo po, nakakalungkot. Nakita ang drugs sa bayan ng Mexico. That is the root of one of the committee of Quadcom. Saan nakita yung Pogo? Sa bayan ng Porac. That is also in Pampanga. Saan nangyari ang bilihan ng malalaking lupa? Libo-libong hektarya, binenta sa mga hindi naman Pilipino. Dinaya ang mga dokumento. Chinese citizen, 100%. Bawal sa konstitusyon ang bumili ng ari-arian ng mga Pilipino. Kaya sabi ko po sa inyo, we are doing this for the Filipino people. We are doing this for our province mate. Saan po nangyari? Ang mga madaming extrajudicial killing sa aming lalawigan, marami po sa mga resettlement areas. Saan nangyari ang mga patayan na marami? Sa gitnang Luzon. That's why we formed this Quad Committee, headed by our chairman, Ace Barbers. Our 11th hearing last Wednesday nangyari po. I'm urging all of members of this Congress, the 19th Congress, I'm urging you to attend. Huwag po tayong mag-attend pag mayroon tayong bisita na kailangan kayong pumunta. Hindi tayo kailangan pumunta kasi nandun yung former president. Hindi tayo dapat pumunta kasi nandun yung vice president para ipagtanggol. Wala pong politika itong Quadcom na ito. We are framing up the future of this country. We are framing up the future of our generation to come. Yan po ang ginagawa namin. Nagtsatsaga po kami for 14 hours. Nag-hearing po kami para sa ating bayan, para mailagay sa tamang perspektibo ang ating bansa, ang ating mahal. And do not monopolize the love of country. We all love our country. Mahal po natin ang ating bansa. Wala pong makakapagsabi na ikaw, mahal mo ang Pilipinas. We all love our country. Mahal po natin lahat ang bansang Pilipinas. Hindi po nyo dapat sabihin na kayo lang po ang nagmamahal sa bansa. Tayo lahat po. We are the elected representative of the people of our district. Tayo ang makikipaglaban sa kanila. Inilagay tayo dito, iniluklok tayo dito para sa ating bayan. At tayo ang boses at tayo ang makipaglaban para sa kanila. My dear colleagues, Mr. Speaker, I implore your support to the Quadcom. I implore your support as we investigate these senseless and unresolved killings in my district. Justice might have many faces, but in the end, I believe it's primarily about accountability. Takal po salamat. Maya pagkatpadapon. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you very much to our Senior Deputy Speaker, Don Gonzales. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of Senior Deputy Speaker Aurelio Dong Gonzales Jr. to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The privileged speech of the Honorable Senior Deputy Speaker Don Gonzales is hereby referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we terminate the privilege hour.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend session.
Session is suspended.